Welcome back to Superbly Said Advanced English Vocabulary and Phrases.
Glad to be back.
And today's material is actually drawn straight from a really great SpeakDuo lesson.
Oh, yeah, it's a good one.
It is. And, for anyone listening, if you want to put this stuff into practice, you can go to SpeakDuo.com to meet new people from around the world, practice English on video calls, and just become more confident in your speaking abilities.
Right, because we are jumping right in today. I mean, this deep dive into the source material is specifically for advanced English learners.
Definitely.
No fluff. We are transitioning directly into unpacking this first set of high-level idioms.
Yeah, so let's start with what I like to call the workplace conundrum.
Okay.
Because advancing in a language often means expressing exactly how confused or, well, how clear you are about something.
Oh my, getting that nuance.
Exactly. So the first phrase is, make neither head nor tail of something.
Which means being completely unable to understand it.
But wait, is this just the same as saying, like, I'm confused?
No, there's a big difference. I mean, I'm confused just means you lack clarity, right?
Right.
But make neither head nor tail implies total incomprehension. It's,
Oh, it's like looking at an abstract painting upside down.
Exactly. You literally don't know which way is up. So if you're at work, you might say something like, I read the new instructions twice, but still couldn't make neither head nor tail of them.
Oh, that sounds so natural. Or, for an IELTS Part 2 response about a challenge, you could say you struggled to assemble a new device because you couldn't make neither head nor tail of the manual.
Yeah, that's a perfect application.
So from total confusion, let's move to, well, when the answer is actually right in front of you.
Ah, yes.
The idiom is staring someone in the face.
Meaning it's obvious or present, but you just, didn't notice it.
Right. But how does that compare with under your nose?
Well, under your nose often implies that someone hid something from you.
Oh, like a trick?
Yeah, exactly, like deceit. Whereas staring you in the face just means you were overthinking it. No one hid it.
Ah, I see. So I could tell my boss, the missing file was on my desk the whole time.
Yes.
It was staring me in the face.
Exactly. And sometimes, bringing in new data can throw light on something, which just means to clarify that confusing problem.
Right, to literally illuminate it.
Yeah. And that helps you realize that someone's personal tastes, for example, has no bearing on something, meaning it's completely irrelevant to the team decision.
Okay, so once that solution is staring you in the face, it's time to get to work.
Right.
Which brings us to our next idiom, buried in something.
Meaning completely absorbed in work, ignoring other things.
But wait, isn't this just being busy?
Not quite. I mean, being busy or swamped feels overwhelming.
Like you're drowning in tasks.
Exactly. But being buried in implies this intense singular focus, like you are deep in a trench.
Oh, wow, okay. So explaining to a colleague why you missed lunch, you'd say, sorry, I was buried in my report.
Yep. Or an IELTS answer, you could say, I couldn't go out because I was buried in exam revision.
Nice. And I guess, if you are buried in work for years, it might lead to your greatest achievement.
Your magnum opus.
Magnum opus, I like that.
Yeah, it's your greatest or most important piece of work.
But how does a magnum opus differ from a masterpiece?
Well, a creator can have several masterpieces, right?
Sure.
But they only have one magnum opus. It's the absolute pinnacle.
Oh, I see. So a writer hoping their next well-received novel becomes their magnum opus.
Exactly. But even geniuses have flaws.
They do. They have a weak spot.
Yeah, a particular vulnerability or a personal failing.
Like an Achilles heel.
Well, an Achilles heel can destroy you. It's fatal.
Oh, right.
But a weak spot is softer, It's more relatable.
Ah. So for an IELTS answer about relaxing, you might say, I have a weak spot for old movies.
Exactly. Or telling a coworker you have a weak spot for comfort food when you're stressed.
Got it. So moving from those personal quirks to deep structural vulnerabilities.
The phrase cut to the foundations.
Right. Meaning to challenge or undermine something at its most basic level.
Yeah.
So it's like an earthquake rather than just a storm.
That's a perfect analogy because, you can rock the boat.
Which just causes minor trouble.
Exactly. But cutting to the foundations threatens the very existence of a tradition or an institution.
Oh, wow. So like a professional discussion about a proven fraud that cuts to the foundations of public trust.
Precisely. And just as institutions can be weakened, so can people.
Which brings us to enfeebled.
Meaning physically weakened by illness or age.
So why not just say tired?
Because tiredness is cured by sleep, right?
Yeah, true.
Being enfeebled is a severe, lingering weakness. It's much heavier.
Okay, so an IELTS response about health might be, after the long, severe flu, I felt enfeebled and moved more slowly than before.
Perfect. And historically, physical weakness or life changes could lead to professional upheaval.
Like losing one's situation.
Right, which means to lose one's job, especially for a domestic worker.
But is that different from just getting fired?
Oh, very different. Getting fired is modern. It's performance-based.
Right.
But losing one's situation is tied to household changes. It carries an older, much more formal weight.
Ah, I see. So discussing a historical text, you'd talk about a worker fearing they might lose their situation when a household restructured.
Exactly.
And, even when your professional and personal lives are closely entwined, meaning bound by shared fate, you shouldn't let fear stand in someone's way of trying a new career.
Absolutely not.
Unless, of course, a situation is truly past hope, meaning it's beyond positive outcomes.
Right. Well said.
Well, it is time for the superbly said SpeakDuo quiz. We are going to test your mastery of these advanced phrases.
I am ready. Let's see how everyone does.
I'm going to read the question and the three options exactly as written. Then I'll give you a moment. Feel free to pause the podcast here if you need to think about the answer while I repeat the target phrase. Then, my expert co-host will immediately reveal the answer.
Sounds good to me.
All right, question 1. Which sentence uses the idiomatic phrase, make neither head nor tail of, correctly? Option A, she could absolutely make neither head nor tail of that incredibly confusing, complex document. Option B, the incredibly talented professional veterinary surgeon could make neither head nor tail of something. Option C, the incredibly frustrated competitive referee could make neither head nor tail of something flipped. Feel free to pause the podcast here if you need to think about the answer for make neither head nor tail of.
So the correct answer is option D. She could absolutely make neither head nor tail of that incredibly confusing, complex document. And just to link it back, this phrase is all about total incomprehension of instructions or documents.
Great. Question 2. Select the context where the phrase Magnum opus is most appropriately used. Option A. The incredibly wealthy European wine collector purchased a massive, magnificent Magnum opus today perfectly. Option B. The brilliantly talented historical novelist successfully published her absolutely magnificent literary Magnum opus yesterday. Option C. The incredibly curious oceanographer carefully studied the beautiful giant Magnum octopus inside the ocean. Feel free to pause the podcast here if you need to think about the answer for Magnum opus.
That would be option B. The brilliantly talented historical novelist successfully published her absolutely magnificent literary magnum opus yesterday. Remember, a magnum opus is a creator's greatest work, like a novel.
Yep, not an octopus. Question 3. In which situation does someone accurately appear buried in something, figuratively? Option A. The highly dedicated, brilliant research scientist was completely buried in something incredibly complex today. Option B. The heavily exhausted professional cemetery landscaper was entirely buried in something muddy this afternoon. Option C. The terribly terrified young domestic cat remained completely buried in something incredibly warm yesterday. Feel free to pause the podcast here if you need to think about the answer for buried in something.
The answer is option A. The highly dedicated, brilliant research scientist was completely buried in something incredibly complex today. Because figuratively, it means being intensely focused on work, like exam revision or reports.
Right. Question 4. Which response best demonstrates the advanced adjective enfeebled? Option A. The incredibly angry customer felt completely enfeebled regarding the extremely expensive monthly service fee. Option B. The deeply thoughtful, brilliant philosopher created a beautifully written, enfeebled narrative about ancient history. Option C. Following the incredibly severe, devastating viral illness, the recovering elderly patient felt terribly enfeebled. Feel free to pause the podcast here if you need to think about the answer for enfeebled.
The correct choice is option C. Following the incredibly severe, devastating viral illness, the recovering elderly patient felt terribly enfeebled. It's specifically about physical weakness following severe illness.
Exactly. Question 5. How would a professional accurately use the phrase, cut to the foundations figuratively? Option A. The highly skilled professional demolition crew violently cut to the foundations of the building. Option B. The massive, unexpected corporate financial scandal unfortunately cut to the foundations of public trust. Option C. The incredibly famous, fashionable celebrity stylist forcefully cut to the foundations across the studio. Feel free to pause the podcast here if you need to think about the answer for cut to the foundations.
That's option B. The massive, unexpected corporate financial scandal unfortunately cut to the foundations of public trust. We use this for undermining institutional trust or tradition at a basic existential level.
Awesome. Question 6. Which scenario perfectly illustrates the idiom staring someone in the face? Option A. The incredibly obvious, necessary, brilliant solution was simply staring someone in the face today. Option B. The deeply terrified, nervous child felt the dangerous dog staring someone in the face. Option C. The incredibly aggressive, angry professional boxer stood absolutely silently staring someone in the face. Feel free to pause the podcast here if you need to think about the answer for staring someone in the face.
The answer is option A. The incredibly obvious, necessary, brilliant solution was simply staring someone in the face today. As we talked about earlier, it's that obvious solution that went unnoticed on your desk.
Almost done. Question 7. Which sentence accurately utilizes the advanced phrase, lose one's situation? Option A. The deeply confused, terrified international tourist managed to quickly lose one's situation completely today. Option B. The highly inexperienced, nervous airplane pilot managed to violently lose one's situation up there. Option C. Following the incredibly sudden, massive household restructuring, the loyal housekeeper might lose one's situation. Feel free to pause the podcast here if you need to think about the answer for lose one's situation.
And that would be option C. Following the incredibly sudden, massive household restructuring, the loyal housekeeper might lose one's situation. It's an older term for losing a domestic job due to household changes.
Last one. Question 8. Which of the following statements correctly uses have a weak spot, figuratively? Option A. The municipal structural engineer discovered the damaged bridge might have a weak spot today. Option B. Despite strict professional corporate discipline, she does generally have a weak spot for chocolate. Option C. The highly frustrated professional laundry cleaner realized the carpet might have a weak spot. Feel free to pause the podcast here if you need to think about the answer for have a weak spot.
And the final answer is option B. Despite strict professional corporate discipline, she does generally have a weak spot for chocolate. This is that personal vulnerability we discussed, like comfort food or old movies.
Well, congratulations to everyone playing along at home.
Yeah, those are some tricky ones.
Yeah.
But before we completely wrap up, I actually want to leave you with a final thought to sort of mull over.
Oh, okay. What is it?
Have you noticed how many of these advanced English phrases rely on physical imagery?
Oh, like what?
Well, think about it. Being buried, checking foundations, looking for heads and tails. We use all these physical things to describe purely abstract intellectual challenges in the workplace.
Wow, yeah, you're right.
So it makes you wonder, what does that say about how the human brain processes complex problems?
That is fascinating. It's like we need to physically touch a problem with our words before we can understand it.
Exactly.
Well, that's an amazing thought to end on. Remember, you can keep practicing all these phrases with new friends on SpeakDuo. Thank you so much for joining us. Good luck on your language journey, and we'll catch you on the next Deep Dive.